Hello and welcome everybody out there for our episode number 40. Wow, that's amazing. And it's a great honor and a great pleasure to have can I say old friend or
Of course, yeah.
long time friend? Old always a little bit double-sided wording, but a long time friend, Ralph Georg or Ralph George? How should I call you? I just call you Ralph. I think
Okay.
that's easier.
Yeah.
So, hello and welcome. Thanks for being here. And I think let's jump into the discussion. I have a lot of questions ready for you. And as always, the first question, Ralph, is tell us a little bit more about you. Who is Ralph and what are you doing? And maybe a little bit about your history, but we have some questions also related to your dental career or your software career. But tell us a little bit more about you, Ralph.
Yeah. So thank you so much for the invitation. It's a great pleasure to be with you and answer your questions. Who is Ralph George? That's a question that I cannot answer because I'm still looking for the answer. I was born in Romania, 91, went to Germany, spent 16 years in Germany, studied in Germany, in Mannheim, and 2006 I moved to Switzerland, and in Switzerland I spent 10 years at the Zurich Sea. I worked in Switzerland in different areas of technology, TV, television, streaming, technology, mobile apps, and so on. I was one of the project managers for 20 Minuten.
I didn't know that. Interesting.
I created a lot of apps for the 20 Minuten, Zürich Zeitung, Aargauer Zeitung, all the mobile app. And then 2016. So after I worked for Solution Park and Swisscom and every big company in Switzerland in the area of technologies and television streaming, I founded my own company, Smilefy, and I started creating mobile apps for dentists. Smilefy was the first application in 2016 that I created together with Henriette. So my brother worked for Henriette Lerner as a technician, and he was complaining about the PowerPoint and a huge amount of time that he spent on taking pictures and putting the PowerPoint together. So my idea was, okay, I create mobile apps. I'm gonna create something that is easier. The idea was that 2016, when I started the Smilefy company, I'm not a dentist and not a technician, but I think that was an advantage because I had a fresh perspective on things, technologies, and workflows. So I integrated for the first time in dentistry a technology that was used actually for back in the days, 2016, the big topic was the terrorists and facial recognition and all the stuff. But I used the same technology to analyze the facial analysis, the facial characteristics of the patients, and then to calculate automatically based on the facial characteristics, to automate and to calculate the smile. That was until 2017 when I met DSD and Christian Coachman. We decided to create a project together called DSD app, which I created the DSD app for 4 years. And it was a mobile application for motivational smile design, 2D, 3D. And 2021 in April, we decided that we are gonna discontinue the DSD application, and I continued building my own platform called Smilefy, which is more clinical, more based on AI, new technologies, automation. During the whole time, having really, I traveled the world several, in 1 year, I traveled the world at least, I think, three times. And organizing all these courses and talking to so many dentists and technicians. And I found out that the clinical day-by-day life, it's a little bit different than just me sitting on the table and creating workflows, right? So I started taking in consideration every single feedback, every single issue, analyzing what does not work in the day-by-day life, and to create a solution that is so close to reality and so close to the real office life, and solve issues of the past. And I created a new platform, doing a lot
Okay,
of
great.
research.
Yeah, that's a long story short, but
Yeah.
you answered the next question already in part, because I was
Oh, yeah.
wondering why, and you remember that Frank Schäfter, our mutual friend
Oh, yeah.
Frank, he
Sure.
introduced the two of us. So then you came to my office. I remember that in 2016 you came to my office, and I was asking you already then, but Ralph, why are you torturing yourself and doing something for dentists? No, but you answered the question. So your brother is a lab technician, and so you got in touch with Henriette, the dentist from Germany, and so this was like the initial
Exactly.
contamination of the dark side of, let's say, that you entered the dental world. So, but and you answered, you mentioned also that you traveled a lot. We all know you did a lot of workshops for dentists, and mainly dentists, but also lab technicians. And I'm really wondering, as my next question to you, you're not a dentist. You now know a lot about dentistry, especially about some technical parts. But how do you experience dealing with dentists and dental technicians as a non-dentist? I'm really wondering, because I'm biased, being a dentist myself, and
Yeah.
finding it not always easy to communicate with dentists, because dentists, although they work every day with patients,
Mhm.
their their communication skills are often very limited. So the it's like the single warrior in his small office. Most of the dental offices are one man or two man shows. The dental technicians, the labs are also one and two man shows mainly. So what was your experience when getting in touch with dentists and lab technicians?
So I just share with you a screen.
Okay.
Um, these are my travels from 2018 2019, and all these points that you see are flights and courses in all these points in the world.
Wow.
So that was a huge journey, and I met thousands and thousands of dentists and lab technicians, right? So what I recognized in the discussion and dealing with the Smile Design workflows and dealing with the day by day life and issues in the dental office, there is a lot of technology out there. You have a lot of solutions, you have a lot of different services, and it's very hard for a dentist that works 8 hours a day or more with the patients to just keep an overview how technology works, what helps, what doesn't help, what is all the technology about. So the most important conclusion that I get from all these encounters is, because I'm not a dentist and I'm not a technician, I had a complete different perspective on things, and I was based on my education from Switzerland with project management and international project management and all this stuff. And you know how Swiss people are very, very organized, and they go step by step and analyze everything. So there is no room for fantasies and improvisation. So I checked every single step of the journey, and I checked what is working and what is not working, right, in the whole process. And then I just realized that the solutions or the services that were offered on the market, they are based on old workflows, 10, 15 years old workflows. And all these workflows are limited because, number one, of the technology back in the days, 10 or 15 years. And all these issues that were created by the limited technology were taken and integrated in new solutions all over the time. Right. So then I just realized that the dentistry area, every single software, every single solution, everybody is copying each other. But by copying each other, they take the issues from the past and they integrate in the solutions of the present or future. And that was one very interesting conclusion that I just studied and realized that we need a change. We need a paradigm shift. We need something new that solves every single issue that we have from the past. If I can give you an example, Smile Design workflows are based on a picture. So whatever we do, we start with the picture, and we take the picture, eventually the intraoral scan, and we use the picture as a visual reference to create our Smile Design. The way the templates are created, the templates, the 2D outlines and the colors. So as everybody knows in the world, these templates are created in an ideal situation. All the templates are used by from the library from Jan Haito, and Jan Haito created a library that everybody uses, like TreeShape, ExoCAD, Nemotech, including the systems that I have created, if it's the DSD app or SmileFi. But the outlines are created in the perfect, ideal position of the jaw. Now, when you have a picture and you have a different head position of the patient, the patient it doesn't look perfectly frontal to the camera. The head is rotated to the right, to the left. So you have a complete wrong position of the head, and you put on this picture perfect orientated to the outlines, which doesn't make any sense because it's impossible to reproduce from a mathematical and a scientific perspective. It's impossible to reproduce a 2D outline to a 3D tooth template, right? And then, of course, because I'm not biased and I don't care about every single workflow in this world, as soon as I see limitations, I change. The question was, why don't we create the smiles in a very simple way, but in 3D? Because no matter how the picture is, and we know, because I studied, 95% of the pictures are not taken correctly. 95%, right? So why don't we create, instead of this 2D outlines and 2D smile frame, a 3D smile frame? Why don't we create a new workflow that is super easy to use and it makes sense? Because then with the 3D smile frame, we can just follow the face and the face position in the picture. Then we solve a lot of problems. And smiles, they were never 2D. So trying to force a 2D smile into a clinical treatment, that's completely wrong. Because as soon as the smile is clearly defined as motivational, I want to open the discussion for an aesthetic treatment with my patient. I want to create a smile simulation, and I create the simulation super quick using AI, using automation, and I can show my patient a picture in 1 minute. That's fine. But we need to communicate and we need to understand this Smile Design is.
But at the end, just to jump into this discussion so far, and I had a lot of discussion with different dentists, and we all came to the conclusion, or the specialists for veneers from Galip to Pascal, you can name them, all around the world that I interviewed over the last months. Everybody told me there's no way around creating a mock-up, try it in, and then visualize in the mouth. So the question is, how far can we go with the visualization process? And I agree with you that we have definitely go to 3D, and the 2D was just a simple solution that at the end you saw in many lectures a conventional wax up. So my question always was, why did you all this fancy stuff before, when you end up doing a wax up by the lab technician and do the mock up in the mouth? So all the fancy photography and design stuff was just to impress the patient or the people in the audience, but was not of a real clear value to the dentist or the lab technician. So I talked to a lot of colleagues and also people who have attended DSD seminars. At the end, it's only a very, very small number who's really using it, because they find out that the benefit is not that huge. So conventional designs or conventional methods are still dominant on the market. And this leads me to a question before we go on to your vision of this: is Smile Design has or had a reputation for being an all or nothing strategy. So I do a Smile Design and show to the patient his new beautiful smile. And now, Ralph, we have to prep all teeth that it looks like the image you see on the computer. So this is by purpose a little bit provocative to get you out of out of your nest to tell us a little bit more. What should it be used in the future? My experience over the last years, it was a motivational tool. And I also know that Ivoclar is working on with this augmented reality things. But all these products so far have not really proven to enhance our clinical workflows, also for small restorations. I really want to highlight that the average dentist is not doing 28 crowns or 28 veneers on his or her patient. They do 1, 2, 3 teeth at a time, also for financial limitations, for a lot of reasons. And what is your answer to this? Is the whole thing also suited for the average dentist, or is it just for the big ones out there who sell $100,000 treatments?
So, based on my experience, and based on hundreds of very, very great conversation with everybody involved in the course, when I listen to all the issues and all the problems and all the ideas, and the daily work looks a little bit different in the dental office. I was considering every single argument, and I was thinking to build the platform in a way that can be used from taking a picture and an intraoral scan to the final treatment planning. But here is a big problem with the messaging that is out there. The Smile Design procedure, workflow, or journey is like the project management, the agile project management, right? That's a project, and you start with the project, but you cannot be sure that the first step, the first design that you do, that's gonna be the final result, because you have a lot of moving pieces and you have a lot of information that you need to add step by step into your treatment planning until you can get a final result. And usually 99%, the final result looks differently than the first design. So educating the patient, educating also the team, and telling them, when I create for you, that's why I start a new movement called Smile Design the Next Generation. And the Smile Design Next Generation has several principles, but I think the first most important principle is the 2D smile simulation is powerful but superficial. It has no clinical value and only one purpose: to motivate the patient to open the discussion for an aesthetic treatment. That's the reason why, from a business perspective and clinical perspective, it cannot take longer than 1 minute. So what we do with Smilefy, we create a project. So we don't create a picture, we create a project. We motivate the patient by just showing an aesthetic treatment would be for would have an advantage for your facial harmony, the way you look, right? Would have an advantage, but that's just a way to show you you can look better. And we recommend an aesthetic treatment. Now, the big problem is that's the motivational, and the patient needs to understand it was 1 minute. It was done to show me that I could look better, and that's it. Afterwards, we need to bring into the system intraoral scans, CBCT, the facial scan, much more files, x-rays, much more files to analyze the condition of the patient. Afterwards, when we link all these files together with AI diagnostics, with CBCT diagnostics for x-rays, for CBCT diagnostics for the CBCT files, with AI diagnostics for AI, we can automate and bring everything together, and the educational value plus the step-by-step planning is huge, but it's gonna be different than from the first step of the Smile Design until the last step of the Smile Design, right? For that reason, I have, for example, integrated very interesting feature. If you can, exactly, yeah. So the red is the intraoral scan of the patient. The blue one is the ortho simulation of the patient. And then we have the Smile Design on top. So before anybody touches the patient, we can visualize that could be the advantage of an ortho simulation, and then that could be the advantage of an aesthetic treatment. But it doesn't mean that this design is gonna look exactly the same like we designed in the first step, because first, when the ortho treatment is done, we need to rescan, and eventually the teeth are gonna be different. That's just a planning, that's just a simulation. So we cannot just promise something that's your Smile Design and you are gonna look like exactly like this, because that's not true. And if we are sincere to our patients and dentists and lab technicians, and we explain that's a journey, many moving pieces, and with every single step we can reanalyze the situation, the condition of your ortho treatment, and then we can adjust the design on top. And then at the end of your ortho, we can plan the veneers. Eventually it's going to look different than the first version that we planned. So it's a journey. It's not something that we just can copy paste from the beginning and we can guarantee you are going to look like this. And I think that's the big problem. When we have something like a system that we can educate the patient about the journey and how every single piece of the treatment moves, then it's a complete different discussion when it comes to the Smile Design. And we cannot promise that the first appointment, the first step, the first mock-up, that's gonna look exactly like the way you're gonna look at the end, because that's not true. Well, it's confusing.
Yeah.
So that's
So
my experience from the discussions with the dentist. Okay, so I didn't invent all this stuff.
no. I know that you talk to many dentists, and again, you talk to much more dentists than any average dentist ever talks to colleagues. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but this a lot of things that you are mentioning. I'm hearing about these ideas and similar ideas, not only related to treatment planning, but to other procedures in dentistry for 20 years now or 30 years now. So how long do you think will it take that your vision will come through? Because I remember 1985,
Wow.
Professor Merman had a lecture. I was a student, had a lecture, and really full of enthusiasm and of visions for the future, was explaining to us how the man and the computer will change dentistry. It is changing, but after 36 years, it I would have expected a much further development, much more change. So it looks like dentistry and the dental industry is relatively resistant to new developments and to new change. So what are your experiences with that? So everything sounds great. I'm completely agreeing with you that a lot of what you're saying is the future, but when will the future start?
So right now I already integrated in the Smile5 platform everything what I was talking about. So if you share my screen, I can show you
Yeah.
some steps. So I cannot show the face of this patient, but that's, for example, something that you can do. And this pre-planning, right, of the whole design. So I started with this design. The 3D smile frame, which I mentioned, is the blue one that you see, and then you have the final aesthetic design, and then you see the difference between the original situation of the patient and ortho. That's already integrated. The whole treatment, so the whole planning took me about 15 minutes, but it's a very complex planning, right? But I want to create something that everybody can use it. It should be so easy and so fun to do, so that everybody can use it and everybody can use this educational aspect of the system, because that's important to grow with your team with every single case that you plan and do. And if everybody involved in the case has a communication platform like Smile5 with the digital patient in the middle of the discussion, so we create a digital patient, means that we don't have only files, but every single file is calibrated. We create a digital head of the patient, and we put the projects on top, every single project on top, and then we communicate through the digital patient until we have the perfect solution. And it's already done. We are in the testing period, so that's gonna be today. Tomorrow we're gonna go live with the 3D mock-up and 3D smile frame. This month is gonna follow lower design, and we are already testing the ortho simulation design on top. We are already testing the creating the veneers with boolean, so with prepping the marking the margins of the prep and then creating the veneers. So that's for us reality. So we push hard, and this summer we're going to have a lot of new solutions and a lot of new connections in Smile5 as a marketplace. So you're going to be able to connect your scanners. You're going to be able to just with one click to get your scans into the app. With one click, you're going to get your ortho simulation in the app. You're going to design very easy, very fun on the iPhone, on the iPad, on the Mac. And then you're going to discuss with the patient, because if the system that we built are easy to use and you don't struggle with technology, then you communicate more with your patient. communicating more with your patient, you are going to find out what your patient wants, needs, or can afford, right?
Yeah.
And communicating in the visual way with the patient and explaining why, for example, in this case, ortho treatment is so important. Before you prep the teeth aggressively, you could have a much more minimal preparation for correcting the form of the teeth with veneers, with ceramics, with composite, whatever it is. Then it's very educational for the patient, and they see, because communication, I have also a very interesting vision or experience with communication is useless. Communication is for nothing. Communication is a waste of time. We need comprehension. We need to understand what we communicate. If I write you an email with words and I explain the situation of my patient, it's nothing worth, because that's the problem of communication. You communicate with me and I encode what you tell me through my understanding, experience, and expertise. So you communicate something to me and I understand completely different what you told me, right? And then the
Yeah,
end.
yeah, yeah. I totally agree. This is a discussion we had many years ago about shade communication. So how you tell your lab technician what shade you want on a given restoration. But are you aware that all you are saying is for a very limited market in dentistry? Because only a small part, let's say max 5% of dentists are using intraoral scanners. I see in orthodontics a big hype with this whole aligner stuff, and everything is digital with aligners, and this seems to be a relatively large market these days. So planning for orthodontic treatment is something, but all the rest, again, I think it's a very small niche of dentists. And this leads me to the question, how can you, I think motivating dentists to say, wow, I want this is not a problem. It's the same when I tell dentists about my passion for dental photography. They say, wow, I want this equipment. I also want to take the amazing pictures as you and some colleagues are taking, what I'm seeing on social media. I want to do this. And then you explain to them how to do it. And at the end, the last question is, well, how much does this equipment cost? And then you tell, well, you have to spend some money to really get to the top. But you can start with a very affordable $1,500 equipment that gives decent results. And what is the answer to this question? Because I think this is one of the key elements how we can implement better. You're talking about cone beam CT, intraoral scan, all this data, and iPad and Mac, and add the value of these tools, you get a very expensive dental clinic. And I don't know who can really afford all this. And this is really a serious issue and a serious question. So, for example, I know that in the scanner market, the big companies are now starting renting out their devices because dentists cannot afford to spend 30, 40, 50,000 for just a scanner. So do you have any concept in your mind how to go on and distribute not only the information? This is easy, and I love all the tools you're developing, but at the end you also need customers not only using them, but buying all the equipment that is needed, because otherwise at the end you get frustrated. If you only have the camera and you don't have a lens and you don't have the flash, yeah, nice camera, but what can I do with it? I have too many pieces missing. So what is your Do you have any ideas on this?
So the trend with the intraoral scans is going up. So in the US, more than 40% of the dentists, they have intraoral scans or use intraoral scans. Plus, there are huge imaging centers. So there are imaging centers. You can send your patient to the imaging center. They get the X-ray, the cone beam, the intraoral scan, and send the files back to the dentist. So but that's a question of, if you want to do dentistry, then you have two options. You can do cavities and root canal and extracting teeth. Or if you want to go into the aesthetic area, right, you need to invest exactly the same way you invest in your dental office, exactly the same way you invest in anything else. You need to invest in all these digital tools. Now, the question is a very, very interesting one, because, for example, I was lecturing, and we had courses in Asia, in Malaysia, for example, and of course, for us in the US, the time is the big question, right? Time is the most important and most valuable asset that we have. And I need to see how I spend my time with tools, with softwares, struggling or not struggling, because I only have 24 hours a day and I want to do sports. I want to spend time with my family, and I don't want to work 16 hours a day in my dental office. And of course, then time is a big argument when I tell you can do the smile design in 1 minute, and you can do the mock-up in 10 minutes and all the stuff. And then one dentist from Malaysia told me, but why do I need to hurry with the smile design? So I have a lot of fun doing my manual walks up for my patient. I spend 4 hours an arch, and then I prepare for my patient the mock-up. And I didn't have an answer for that. I didn't have an answer, because if time is not an issue, if the volume of patients is not an issue, if all these arguments that we have in our world, in different parts of the world, it's not an issue, and I just work to survive and to, as a dentist, to create my WhatsApp and spend 4 hours on an arch, then we do have a complete different discussion. A complete different discussion. So the trend goes up. Yes, people are interested to do more aesthetic work, of course, like ortho, as ortho started with the clear aligners and all the stuff. And I remember 4 or 5 years ago, ortho was also in Germany a big problem, or in the UK, right? When you go to all these places, you see that people have really they have messed up teeth, and they are overlapped and all this stuff, and it was never a discussion for them. And now they realize it is a way to get my smile done, and it's a new market. They understand. And also in Germany, the clear aligners and ortho is bigger and bigger and bigger, a bigger discussion. Bleaching, the color of the teeth, aesthetic treatments. So everything is coming. In some countries like the US, it was always a discussion. But also in the US, when you go from Miami to different parts, you see the differences. Or the biggest just go to South America, go to Brazil, go to Colombia, go to all these countries. You're not going to find one with a bad smile. So when you go out, when you go to a club, when you go in the evening to a place to have dinner, everybody has beautiful smiles, because that's part of their culture. That's
Yeah,
part
yeah, I totally agree. But this is again, this is not the majority of the world population. But
yeah,
again,
gonna come.
if you design a product, if you design a strategy, it's not always for everybody out there. But I always in my discussion want to highlight that
Yeah,
we have to be careful sometimes. It's um, I like to say, why do we have specialists in aesthetic dentistry? I don't know any specialist in unesthetic dentistry.
yeah,
So basically, at the end, every dentist wants to create nice work, nice restorations using the latest materials. So at the end, everything results in kind of aesthetic treatment, because if you do a rehabilitation, if you restore a broken tooth to back to his original form, this is also aesthetic dentistry. So
yeah,
I would be I'm defending all dentists out there doing just the average, the the dirty work out
yeah.
there,
Uh-huh.
and they are also, they are as important as the high-end dentist dealing with Hollywood smiles and all this. So, but again, I really like your passion for what you're doing for many years now, and I think you're doing a great job. But let's come to the last question, and this is something I always ask everybody out there: is dealing with young colleagues, young dentists. So young dentists are certainly more tech savvy, so they are using their iPhones, they're using technology
Mhm.
much easier. So it's like our children when they ask me, "Hey dad, what was your preferred computer game?" And I had to tell them, we had no computer games when I was a child. So will design tools become more important? Or in other words, do you think that design tools will be part of dental education, as intraoral scanning is now getting more and more also part of dental education at many universities
Yeah,
worldwide? So,
yeah,
do you think, or are you in contact with universities? Because I think it's important, if you want to be successful with the new material, with the new strategy, with the new technology, you have to you have to get young people involved. It's like in Switzerland, the ETH or the university in the 80s, Apple was the first company giving free computers to the university. That's why Switzerland still is an Apple country. So we have a much higher average usage of Mac computers than in many other countries. And
mm,
this is something that is almost 40 years old. So they infected us with their technology. And how do you want to, maybe the word virus in these days is not a good one, but how do you contaminate universities and young people with these new ideas to get them more, or to make them more become everyday tools for dentistry? So maybe this is the last questions to summarize our discussion at this point.
yeah. So we have partnerships with university in the US, and we have like 800 licenses, right? 800 licenses per university, because in the university, in the dental field, there is nothing like planning aesthetics. There is no program planning aesthetics. What do I need to do to create a smile in harmony with the face, facial driven? What should I do? How should I plan my smile? There is nothing like this. So, of course, the universities are key in showing the new system, but also because of the generation and the age of the students, the user experience, the way the software works needs to be completely different than anything else, because user experience is the most important aspect of everything. So if you don't have a system that is fun, automated, quick, and they get quick results, then you have a big big problem with the millennials, right? They grew up with technology. They grew up with mobile applications. They grew up with phones. They grew up with computers. That's part of their life. So if you don't find a way to create technology easy to use, fun, and educational at the same time, then it's done. Because nobody wants to learn a software for 3 months and practice every day just to be able to use it for a design, right? Plus, if you invest your time in studying how a software works, or a workflow, or a philosophy, or a principle, then you need to, or you want to use it, right? If it's not possible to use it and it has no value for you, then it's also done. So user experience, technology, automation, education is super important. And we see the interest of universities, bringing more and more aesthetics into the program and curriculum. And also it's amazing, because at the universities, dentistry is done with two models like this on the articulator. No face, no facial harmony. We don't know how the patient looks like, so let's make teeth and put them into the mouth. How the whole smile looks like, it's another question, but we want to go more to the natural appearance of the smile, to the facial harmony, to all this beauty. And even when we see now on social media, because that's one good part of social media, right? When we see the pictures, how veneers and aesthetics were done 10 years ago, and now it's also a big difference, right? It's a big difference. Now, when you see how dentistry was done 10 years ago and what was considered aesthetics 10 years ago, it's a huge shock. The materials, the way the smiles, the way the shapes were done, and all the stuff. So it is we're moving into a good direction. And as soon as we can create the most natural smiles possible, and nobody would ever understand from a smile that's not a done smile, it's not your natural teeth, then I think we're gonna be successful.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's interesting. It reminds me to one of my last interviews I had with Baratieri from Brazil, and he told me at the end, dentists should try not to touch the teeth of the patients. So he was talking or mentioning the whole discussion, and this is also a really important point. Dentists need to learn how to preserve, how to prevent, and not just how to change things. And in some countries say, oh, okay, I don't do root canal, I extract the tooth, I place an implant, or I do what you showed me. So the ethical part is always, we need to keep that in mind as well.
Yeah.
And this is also an important message for young dentists out there. Don't think now I buy the Ferrari and I drive at full speed and I will be a successful dentist with new technology and all this. So I think there are some basic rules, and that's why the progression at the universities is not going that fast, because some basic knowledge still needs to be taught, still needs to be communicated to the students, and also some ethical and philosophical backgrounds, because at the end we are doctors. We have to swear the Hippocrates thing, so that we want not to harm our patients.
Yeah.
And I think these are all important things that also you as a software developer have to keep in mind, so that at the end you say, this is how you could improve a person's smile. But at the end, you have also to think about, should I really do it? Should I try to convince the patient to touch his or her teeth? So these are things that I think will still be, or maybe in your app there should be like a warning that if you design a full smile, you don't necessarily have to realize this smile. It's like you can design a house, be a great architect, but it's not always necessary to really build the house. Maybe it can be a dream house. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so
So
these are
what I what I can tell you is it's a very very good aspect, because I you know I we had a lot of discussions with our dentists and with our course participants, and they asked me, okay, Ralph, what's next, what's next, and then I realized that what I do, it's not enough. So even the best planning and the design and all this stuff, it's not enough. That's just the beautiful 3D planning that you can do is nothing worth, because is much more to this topic that just the digital planning. That's why I with the Smilefy Academy that I founded, I put a program together that is clinical, very very hands-on oriented, and I convinced really big names and the biggest specialists in the world to be part of this program. And after the planning, it's clinical and it's dentistry. So it's clinical and dentistry. The software is fine, it's just the first step, but afterwards everybody will go into a very very hands-on orientated program, and every single topic is going to be discussed: occlusion, function, prep, bonding, veneers. Everything is going to be taught step by step by the biggest specialists in the world, just to understand why we do the planning, and when we promise something, we're going to deliver, because we know all the steps to this month. So, and I did the experience myself, because I was so busy, and I went to Rio de Janeiro, and because I was so stressed and so tired and working and all this stuff, I grind my teeth in the night. So, and I just grind them. The whole bite was canted, and I went to Rio de Janeiro to make my bite, my smile rejuvenation. So
that looks nice.
yeah, and Sergio Saraiva, one of the really biggest specialists, aesthetics and veneers and all the stuff. And I told him, Sergio, I don't have time. So we need to do it the weekend. I don't have time because I need to fly again. I need to go to the next courses. And he told me, we can do it, but you are going to have a huge problem with the bite, because the vertical dimension was increased. And so they prepared everything. They sent me, a deprogrammer and all the stuff, but I didn't have the time to use all this stuff. So when I got my tabletops and the bite was increased 3 millimeters, it was the hardest week of my life, until my jaw and everything was used to the new vertical dimension. And then I understand you cannot take it just like, let's do it. I need to do it. As a patient, I need to follow the everything what my dentist tells me. If I need to wear my deprogrammer, I need to wear my deprogrammer. If I need to wear my night guard, I have to wear my night guard. All this stuff. So the patient journey and the it's so many moving pieces into this huge project of recreating the mouth of a patient, right? So that's why the hands-on part is the next big project from my contribution to dentistry, and then everybody is going to learn step by step all these very special techniques.
Super. So that's I think that's a perfect, because we could go on for hours. I know you, Ralph. You're you're a perfect guest
So
to talk and discuss with.
8 hours.
But I'm really looking forward to your new projects, your new endeavors. So we will certainly stay in touch. And all out there, if you didn't see this live, you can rewatch it on YouTube, on Facebook. I will also do a short summary on my Instagram account for all out there. And thank you again, Ralph, for being my guest tonight. And I hope to see and meet you soon again, also in person. So stay safe, stay healthy, and bye-bye and good night.
Bye. Thank you.